Well, don't know. So what we're going to do, be able to divide fractions. So let's just recap on what we did last lesson, which was multiplying fractions. So if I said to you 2/3 times 1/5, Sophie?
2/50.
2/50. Jaina, if I said 2/7 times 4/6, Jaina?
8/42.
Good. And does that simplify?
4
over 21, yeah, that does. There is a way that we can simplify this before we simplify at the end, but I'll go through that in a bit. Okay. Millie, just to check then, so 3/8 times 2/6.
You do 8. 8 times 3.
No. It's just what we did. So you notice how Sophie did.
Oh no, you do 8 times 6.
8 times 6 makes.
Makes 36. Then 4. Can you 3 times 2?
Yeah, which is
6.
6. Okay, and can that be simplified?
Yes.
What can that be simplified to?
3
Divide by 2, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Can it go again?
Yes.
3/24, what did it go into?
1/8.
1/8. Okay. So you remember, when you multiply fractions, all we do is multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and then we can simplify. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at this one again, and the answer simplifies quite a lot, and we had to simplify afterwards. Now, there is a way of simplifying the question before we do it. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite. It's 3/8 times 2/6. Right. Now, this is what we can do. I'm just going to rewrite it in a way that I'm allowed to rewrite it, and you tell me if you think there's any problem. So the answer is going to be 3 times 2 over 8 times 6.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what we can do is I can rewrite that any way I like. So I could, because of multiplication, write 2 times 3 over 8 times 6. It still gives me the same answer, yeah? Happy with that? Still gives me the same answer.
Or you could also do 6 divided by 48.
Yeah, but that's the final thing. I don't want to do that just yet. That's kind of simplified. Right, so important thing is I can rewrite it however I like. So I can swap it around. I could also write 3 times 2 over 6 times 8. No, sorry. Yeah, 6 times 8. Happy with that? Right. Now, the question is, does this help me simplify? So, what I'm going to have a look at first is, does either of these fractions simplify before I do the multiplication?
Well, the first one can, the second one can.
Second one can. Jaina, go on, you said yes first. What do you think?
The first one can.
You think the first one can? So what would you simplify this one to?
1/4.
So you divide it by 3.
8 doesn't divide by 3.
No, 8 doesn't divide by 3. So actually, no, this one can't. You get that, Millie, as well. 8 doesn't divide by 3, and 3 only divides by 3. But what about the second one?
Yeah, it does.
It does. So we could try and divide by 2, because that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Does this divide by 2?
Yes, 3, so 1/3.
Okay, so I'm going to go for 3/8 times 1/3. Right, now here's the trick that we were talking about before. I'm going to carry on from this stage, because I've already done a little bit of simplifying here. I've simplified this fraction. and it's now that fraction. So it's still the same problem, but it's made simpler. The numbers are simpler. So this fraction and this fraction are the same in value. Right, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to write it like this. 3 times 1 over 8 times 3. Okay? Now what I'm now going to do is say, well actually, why don't I write 1 times 3 over 8 times 3. Happy with that? Okay, now here's where we go kind of from here all the way back, and I'm going to rewrite this again as 1 over 8 times 3 over 3. You okay with that? Happy with that? Yeah, because it's the kind of, that's all we do, we kind of split it up. Right. Now can we simplify again?
Yes.
What could we simplify? So the 1 over 8 can't be simplified.
No, but the 3 over 3
Yeah.
is 1.
Is 1. Like that. So 3 over 3 is the same as 1. What's the answer to 1 over 8 times 1?
1 over
1 over 8.
Because anything times by 1 stays the same.
Exactly. And look at the answer that we had eventually, and look at the answer we got when we simplified. Right? So we get the same answer. So I can simplify in the question. Now, there is you might think, oh, but that's really long. It was easier to do it at the end, up here.
It won't always be.
Well, the thing is, when you get used to it, so for instance, if I redid this question now, 3 over 8 times 2 over 6. Now, basically, this is what I can do. I can simplify either fraction with top and bottom. So I don't have to only simplify this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to divide this by 2. So we do what we did before, and we make it 3 over 8 times 1 over 3, yeah? Then I spot, well actually, 3 over 3 cancels to 1 over 1. So I can divide the 3 by the 3. So then it becomes, 1 over 8, the 1 over 8, times 1 over 1, which makes
1 over 8.
So I can do it in this would be the short way of writing it. Okay, this is what it's doing. This is why you're allowed to do it, but this is what you might eventually actually do. Okay, so that's how we can simplify. Go on,
Sorry,
question.
I'm confused by. So, can we just take another example?
Yeah, we'll
so
definitely
that
do
I can
another
just-
example, but would you like to write that down first?
The
and
short
then we'll,
way?
well, both ways to explain it. So this way to explain it, okay? So you've got the first one. So let's do this. This is how we can explain the simplification. So we can say simplifying before the answer, okay? And we'll say this is the long way. So this is the explanation of why you can do it. But this is the short way, showing how you do it. So people write, so I would put 1 and 3 there. This is what you'll see in the working out. Right? So write that down. Okay, so we're going to try and simplify before we calculate the answer to 7 over 8 times 2 over 3. Now, if we look at that, neither fraction simplifies on its own. Okay? But remember that we don't need to only simplify the 7 and the 8. The 7 could also potentially simplify with the 3, although that doesn't work. But what about...
But the 2 can go into the 8
Exactly, the 2 can go with the
so
8.
it'd be 7,
So what we could
7,
do,
8 times
if you
4.
treat 2 and 8 as a fraction, so what does it do? So you divide the 2 by
4.
2,
Sorry, 2.
and you divide the 8 by 2. So then it becomes 7 over what?
Sorry, 7 over. Oh, it's 7 over 4.
7 over 4. Yeah.
Why is it?
Because 8 divided by 2.
Yeah.
And then it's times, well, what's 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 over 3. Then we just do our multiplication like we did before. So 7 times 1 is
7.
7.
And then 12.
And 12. Now, if we've done it right, this number
Should
should be in what you did in one exercise, simplest form already. So we don't need to do any simplifying afterwards. So we've simplified beforehand. Okay. One more, just quickly.
Yes.
Do it with you. Okay, let's have a look at 5 over 6 times 3 over, what should I do, 20. 5 over 6 times 3 over 20.
5 can go into 20.
Yeah, good. So 5 can go into 20.
And 6 can go into 3.
And 6 can go to 3.
That's good.
So
you divide 5 and 20. So you divide 5 by 4 and 20 by 4.
divide 5 by
5.
5. So we divide it by 5.
Five.
Leaves me
4.
4. So I'm going to put a 4 instead.
Yeah.
The 20 is also divided by 5. So I'm just going to write the fraction. I don't get confused.
Yeah,
So
why
20.
is it divided by 5?
Sorry, no. What's 5 divided by 5? You confused
Yeah,
me
know.
there. 5 divided by 5
It
is
doesn't work. 1. It's 5.
1. It's
Yeah, I thought
Let-
yeah, it's 5 to it.
no, look. So 5 and 20. So what divides into 5 and 20?
5.
5.
So you divide it by 5.
Exactly. So you
Which
divide by
is 1.
5. So 5 divided by 5 is
Is 1.
1. 20 divided by 5 is
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can divide 3 and 6 by 2.
3 and 6 divide by
2.
no.
Sorry, 3.
Yeah, exactly. You're thinking the answers too.
Yeah.
So
So
if we divide by
3
3 there and there, we get 3 divided by 3 is
1.
1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now we can do our answer, which is
1 over 8. Which is
And
the
again,
simplest form.
simplest form again.
Mm-hmm.
Making it? Okay, you got that, Jonah? Great.
Isn't it 1 over 6?
What's 2 times 4?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. People do that. Remember, it's always times top and bottom, not add. In fact, you never add the bottom numbers or
I know, it's
ever.
weird.
When you add fractions, you add the top numbers, but not the bottom. And when you multiply, you multiply, you never add.
Sign because we're talking about.
What are you talking about? So again, 1 over 8 is simplest form again. All right? And you're always going to be simplest form if you've got a 1 on top. Okay. Right, we need to use that, but we're now going to get back to our dividing objective. So we're going to look at dividing fractions. Now we're still going to use this. So we'll start with a simple one first though. So it's 1/2 divided by 1/3.
So we do what we just did, but in the end we just
Right,
divide
no,
it.
hang on, it's slightly different. What I need to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to try this whole showing you. So we've got 1/2 of our cake. So imagine there's a half and there's a half. So do you want to stop writing at the moment? Just look at the board and I'll let you write your notes afterwards. Right. What does dividing mean?
Making something smaller.
No, not. See, that's the thing. Not necessarily.
Oh no,
And you share them.
Yeah,
You share it. Okay.
Make it fair.
So I would say there's a couple of ways to say it. You could share it between a third of people, but it doesn't really make any sense. So another way is to say divide it into thirds. Okay. Right. So what we're saying is, actually, what am I saying? how many thirds can I get out of a half? So it's share a half into thirds.
6.
So here's the thing. Well, not quite actually. So what I'm going to do, using my whole cake, I'm going to split my cake now.
2.
Not quite. I'm going to split my cake into thirds. So I'm going to ignore my halves and I'm going to split it into thirds. Alright. So here's the thing. I only have a half though. I only have this half. Alright. So if I split my 1/2 that I'm allowed, so ignore this half, but I've used it to split the whole thing into thirds because that's what I'm dividing into. How many thirds are there in a half? It's actually quite a hard one. So
3.
there is
1.
1/3, yeah, and how many thirds is this? It's only a half. So how many thirds are there in a half? I have 1.5 thirds in a half.
Wait, so I'm getting confused because of the blue line.
But that's because that's my half. I need that to show you we've only got... So actually, if I can do it like this. So there is 1/3, like that.
Okay.
There is another third.
Oh, now I see it. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
There is another third. But if I ignore... And let me, I have to do this, this is quite a good thing. If I ignore that half, because I've only got 1/2, how many of those 3/3 do I have? I only have 1.5 of the 3/3. Yeah? So that's what divide means, is how many thirds can I get out of a half? Now, that seems quite, don't write down yet, that seems quite a long-winded way. So what I'm going to do, you understand the whole thing of division though, yeah? So it's how many thirds can I get out of a half? Alright? Now you notice how 1.5 is bigger than both of those fractions.
Yeah.
So a division does not necessarily always smaller. Right. A little shortcut, cheat way maybe, but it works. Here you go. To divide by a fraction, okay, to divide by a fraction, you can multiply by the, and you're not going to understand this word yet, but you will do, reciprocal of the fraction. Okay? So, do you understand the word reciprocal? No, I didn't expect you to. That's all right. Well, I'll see whether you can guess what reciprocal means. So what that means is, instead of doing a half divided by a third, I'm going to do a half times 3/1. Now, what is a half times 3/1?
3/2.
3/2. And if I were to convert 3/2 into a whole bit and a, what would it be?
1 whole
And
1/3. Yeah.
1 whole
1
and
second.
1 half.
1 half.
Which is the same there. Now, here's the thing. So you've seen the answer, it works, but can you figure out what does reciprocal mean?
Just swapping the denominator with the denominator.
Yeah, there you go. Another person would say, flip the fraction.
Flippy the fraction.
Okay, flip the fraction. Right, the reciprocal. So this is 1/3, but upside down. You notice how, though, it is the second one. You don't swap the first one, you swap the second fraction.
Why? Is it just lower?
Because it's like, it works that way.
So you write this on that.
So now, yeah, I tell you what, you write that.
Flip the fraction.
Okay, so alright, so this case we've seen how it worked. Now I'm not going to worry about drawing you a diagram because they do just get a little bit more complicated, but what I wanted you to see was how what we do is we take the half and we've got to share it into thirds, and so that's why there was more than a half. It doesn't always get smaller. So for instance, if we were to take a number like 6 and we were to divide 6 by a half, of course you would always say division makes it smaller.
Yeah.
But in this case, what we would be saying is, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cakes, and we've got to figure out how many halves there are. So it's 1, there you go. If we half all of them,
12.
how many halves? 12. So 6 divided by a half should be 12. So let's just check with our rule. So 6 would be multiplied by
4.
the reciprocal of a half is
Is 2 1, 2 over 1.
2 over 1. Remember, it's just flip the fraction the other way up. And then 6 times 2 over 1 is the same as? Do you know how to do that?
Sorry?
So 6 is actually,
Oh, 6.
people write 6 over 1 if they want to multiply. So then it becomes 6 times 2, 1 times 1 is just 12 over 1, or just 12. So you can see how it works even when the first number is a whole number. Okay. Okay.
So this is just another example, right?
This is another example. But what I'm going to do, so that was as an example of how you can take the first number can be any number. The fraction is so this is what we call the divisor. So it's what you divide by. So it's the divisor, the fraction that matters. The first number is anything. You don't do anything with the first number. It's the divisor that you have to work with.
Wait, the divisor is the second number.
The divisor is the second number, what you divide by. Yeah. So if I give you one that you can do that will simplify, so 5 over 8 divided by 3 over 4. Okay, I want you to tell me what the answer to that is, and it will simplify. So
So it's like the one above. No, it's like
yeah,
above.
so you're going to simplify before calculating. So first thing you have to do, step 1, is convert to multiplication. Step 2 is simplify. Step 3, calculate. Okay? So you've got 3 things. So the first one's really easy. Second one is really CSC. Miami. CSC, no, that's not quite. Right. Before we go, just so we say we've done it, and you can then review it. Right, so what do you think we should do first off? So we have to convert it. So it's divide at the moment, so we need to convert to multiplication. So remember, what do we do? So 5 eighths, but then it's times what?
5 eighths, 10, 3.
4 over 3. So we take this fraction and we flip it upside down. Yeah? We take the reciprocal.
Well, why do we only do the last one again?
Because we just do it.
Well, you know, it works. You know, there's a complex way of maybe explaining it, but I don't want to do it. So we kind of showed you that with division it can go higher. But the rule to make it simple, so when you divide by a fraction, second thing, the divisor can be flipped to multiply. Because it's easier to flip and multiply. Now, we've got a multiplication, and now we have a way of simplifying a multiplication So we're simplifying now. So we've done the convert, really easy, really quick. But what can we simplify? Anything or nothing? So 5 eighths, no.
4 with 8.
But the 4 with the 8, so what does it become?
Wait, you can divide both by 2.
You can, but you can also divide both
by
4,
So
yeah.
it would be 1 over 2. Half.
So we've got divide by 4, so it ends up with 5 over 2. So that would become a 2. And then this would become a 1, so times 1
5.
over 3. So the 5 and the 3 don't change.
And then what do you do with those two together? So
And now we just need to multiply those
5
over 6. Spot on.
Okay.
We'll do a bit more next time.